welcome to Channel 18 TV News. I'm Don Julian. In the news, a 38-year-old Commerce woman who's shown in arrest reports to be employed as an associate judge for the City of Commerce was arrested Thursday evening on a misdemeanor assault charge. The Hopkins County Sheriff's Office has been investigating the assault. A warrant was issued for her arrest. The woman turned herself in on Thursday. Tequila Rochelle Johnson was charged with assault with bond set at $5,000. A brief vehicle pursuit in Sulphur Springs Thursday night ended with the vehicle's tires being spiked. Officers found marijuana and methamphetamine in the vehicle. Sulphur Springs police officers attempted to stop the pickup shortly after 9 p.m. on Thursday. Instead of stopping, the driver fled from officers. The brief pursuit went from Brinker at Peach Street to the 100 block of Jefferson, where spike strips had been placed. 48-year-old Kathy Sue Pichardo was charged with evading arrest and with possession of 1 gram or more, but less than 4 grams of a controlled substance. Bond of $30,000 was set for the woman. A 20-year-old man who fled from Cumbie police to Royce City, where he was arrested inside of a Walmart, has been identified as Jordan Isaiah Cockrum. The man was taken to the Hopkins County Jail Thursday evening in lieu of $2,000 bond for resisting arrest, $35,000 bond for an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge, and $15,000 bond for evading arrest in a motor vehicle. The man was observed driving at a high rate of speed on I-30 by a Cumbie police officer. The officer stopped the vehicle. When the officer attempted to handcuff the man, he reportedly resisted. The officer was struck in the face. The man then jumped back in his car and drove away, but officers later found the suspect in the Royce City Walmart. The Wildcats marching band marked the end of summer band with their traditional squad off at Primm Stadium Thursday evening. The Euphonium won the squad off. They used to be called baritone horns. The band also performed the first number of this year's halftime and performance show for parents and other boosters. And after squad off, I talked with band director Spencer Emmert about this year's summer band.
It's been fantastic. Like I told the crowd here tonight, the kids have just been ideal. No complaints, just hard work and pushing through and bonding and building as a group, as a family, and that's what it's all about.
A big part of the show looks like already learned, and they played the whole first song and walked through most of it.
Correct. We moved and played for about 70% of the opener, which is incidentally 40% of the overall show, so it's a big chunk of that. The beginning, kind of the different challenge that we had this year was adding that choreography sequence at the beginning, something we'd never before done. So getting the kids to move in that way was a challenge, but they've rose to it and had just adopted it really well. It's going to be the most, I think, dynamic, exciting, unexpected beginning of a show that Sulphur Springs has seen in a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say people need to make sure that they delay their trip to the concession stand to watch, if we're up first, to watch what we do the way we open the show.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do want you to go visit the concession stand because our boosters will be there. However, find a time when it's not on our kids, when we're on the turf, because they really do work their tails off and they respond to the crowd, and so we're excited to see how the crowd reacts to what we do.
Were you surprised that they were able to put this all together so quickly? It just seems like the other day we were talking to you and you were getting started.
What's really unique about this group is, especially it's extra special and comforting to me as a second year here. The kids know what to expect from me now. They know my process, they know what my expectations are, and that once they all get on board with that, we can really move quickly and efficiently. I have a staff that's just second to none, I believe, just great teaching happening, and the kids are responding, and so it's helped our pace really move forward quickly. I will say this, they were tired there tonight. today. We had a good, hard 4-hour rehearsal this morning in the blazing sun, while certainly adequately hydrated. However, it did zap them energy-wise. And then just the mental stress that they're all focused so hard on that squat off. It was neat to see that, really zero it in. But after that, it's almost like oh my gosh, I'm still, So with that run through, we were pleased with that, but make no mistake about it, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Euphonium, huh? The winners.
The winners, yes. In the olden days, we called that baritone horn. But they've redesigned it a little bit, made it sound a little bit better. It's more in tune, and came up with a funny name, euphonium. So it's our baritone voice in the brass family. So I think it's a low brass thing. Last year, tubas got it. Now we moved up one voice to the baritone. So next year, maybe it's trombones or the tenor saxes. We'll see. But anyway, it was neat to see those kids shine and do their thing. And honestly, we never know how this is going to go. And we certainly were not expecting some of the groups that were still there and some that pulled out. So that tells you the resilience and the depth of the band overall, I think.
And they made it tough on you. It was some tough choices as you just looked at the lines and tried to find any little flaw. It was hard.
We had to get nitpicky, certainly did. And but I think it was overall a great success.
Oh, your best band, huh, since you've been in the band?
Summer band, I think, now the time will tell if it's the best band as far as what all happens, but this certainly has been the best summer band, no question about it.
And tell us a little bit about your staff. It's a good one.
Oh, yes. We're just so lucky to have the people we have working for us, and like I alluded to earlier, us being my second year here, we're all getting to know each other more and understand our personalities, and that's really been a benefit. Our new additions are going to be worth their weight in gold. Mr. Ao is just fantastic. The middle school and at the high school, and Mr. Parati with our color guard program, we're really fortunate.
And you've kind of taken a quantum leap in the color guard department, and they look sharp. I remember seeing them early and thought they had a long way to go, but they have really come along fast.
Those girls have worked their tail off, and they have just done it with a great attitude at all times. We couldn't be more proud of them, and they're excited to see what they can do this year.
Well, very good. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Having Christus Mother Francis Hospital in Sulphur Springs is a huge benefit to our community, and new doctors are coming in. Let's meet a new doctor, family practice physician, Dr. Blake Cross.
So I work for Christus Trinity, the primary care office, just right by the hospital. It's just east of the hospital in one of those longer buildings.
Okay, yes.
That it's actually where Dr. Miller used to practice.
Okay. So the hallways of Dr. Miller.
Yes, ma'am.
And he has retired.
Yes, ma'am.
And now that is the area of a clinic that will find Dr. Cross. Well, we want to know where you came from and how you got here. So tell us about your path.
Okay. Well, I originally am from Amarillo, Texas. Lived there for my entire childhood, and but I actually haven't lived there for quite a while. I went to Baylor for undergraduate, and then I went and got my master's in Fort Worth at UNT Health Science Center, and then also went to medical school in Fort Worth, and then went to training in Lubbock, Texas. So for the past 3 years, I lived in Lubbock, and then moved to Sulphur Springs this past June.
Okay, so you have arrived here during the summer, this summer.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Now, the places I heard you mention, even Fort Worth, but Lubbock, Amarillo, dry.
Yes.
You came
Very
here,
different.
Yeah, you came here during our rainy season, and now our humidity season.
Yes, ma'am. It is very different, but I think Fort Worth is similar, and I actually, Waco is similar as well. So going to Baylor kind of acclimated me to the weather and the people. It's not, such a big change, and, obviously still living in Texas is a big plus. So we've really enjoyed it so far.
And I hear that you like Sulphur Springs.
Yes, ma'am. We really do. We actually knew we were coming here about 1.5 years ago is when we first kind of decided that this is where we wanted to be, and so we've had time to prepare and come back and just experience the town a little bit more. And I actually didn't start work until the beginning of August, pretty much, and so I had a lot of July to explore, like I mentioned, and see the area and meet the people, and it's just been wonderful so far.
And you like our downtown.
I do.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
And you say we, so tell me who also came with you.
So I have a wife that I have been married to for 7 years. I have a 2-year-old daughter and one on the way that's due in November.
Okay.
So,
Well, building your family right here in Sulphur Springs, Hopkins County.
yes, ma'am.
And we feel that that's about the most wonderful place in the world.
I agree.
So we welcome you to being here. We want to find out, well, as a family practice doctor, and we need family practice physicians here. As Brad was saying, we have specialists and we have specialties, but the groundwork of that is the family practice doctor.
Yes, ma'am. It's definitely necessary, and obviously the specialists are necessary as well. And it's really nice to have the medical community we have here in Sulphur Springs. But to be able to kind of get to those specialists, you usually need a primary care doctor first. So it's definitely a necessity here.
Well, in your training, what do you expect to find here, or what have you already been, had come to you?
Yes, ma'am. So during training for family medicine, they kind of know that you're coming out to be able to see anything and everything that kind of walks in the door. And in Lubbock, they train you in a way that allows you to see, inpatient, outpatient, in the ER, and really in a broad variety of settings. See what patients you might see in your clinic. And that allows you to know when people are sick enough to need to go to the hospital, when they're not sick enough, when they can stay in the clinic, things like that. And so Lubbock actually graduates the most rural family medicine doctors of any residency in Texas, and that really just kind of prepared me to be able to practice small town medicine and be able to know what to do in situations that some other physicians, may not be prepared for. But it has also kind of made me feel very comfortable seeing patients immediately. And so far I've seen, I've only seen patients this week, but okay. I think there's a good pathology, a good difference of how people are here is not too different than how they were in Lubbock. Everyone is sick sometimes, and it's something that they need to see a doctor and someone who cares about them and be able to treat them like their family. So it's been a great experience so far.
Well, around here, and Brad, you probably say the same thing I do, we have something that makes us cough or sneeze or whatever. We don't know what it is. We just say it's an allergy. I know you're not an allergy specialist, but probably you'll have folks that say, I've got this allergy. Yes, ma'am.
No, it's a common complaint. And sometimes it is allergies, and we need to treat it that way, and other times it's not. In Lubbock specifically, they produce, in West Texas really, they produce 30% of the nation's cotton, and so they have lots of cotton gins all over the place. Allergies are really bad because there's no humidity that's actually kind of dragging those particles down at all. So everything's in the air, and allergies are very common there. And so I feel like I have a pretty good experience treating allergies, and I know, how to use medications properly in a way that usually will help. And if it doesn't, then maybe we do need to look into it and see if there's another reason that could be causing, a cough or whatever you're talking about specifically.
Well, explain that a little bit more where I can understand it. So in Lubbock, the climate is that it doesn't drag the particles down to the air.
Yes.
To the ground. But
and that's
differently, it's here?
I believe so. I've talked to some allergy specialists in the area, one specifically in Amarillo, and I think because it is so dry there, it's almost like a desert, technically. They have dust storms very frequently that are impressive, very impressive sometimes. And not just that, but, people in the area, they would recommend closing your doors, staying indoors during those periods. And if you don't, then it really can aggravate asthma and allergies and people with chronic lung problems. So it's a very common problem in West Texas, and Amarillo doesn't actually have it quite as often as Lubbock does, but it's nice not to have to worry about that quite as much here. So
other things that you might have come into your office, let's say childhood injuries or illnesses?
Yes, ma'am. So kind of how I had mentioned earlier about how Lubbock trains you to be able to see anything and everything. we were trained to see babies, newborns, and because we also were trained to do obstetrics, if we had wanted to, that would just kind of allow you to see the baby immediately after you delivered the baby from the mother. And that really makes me feel comfortable seeing newborns up until old age. It really is a good thing for continuity because you don't have to switch doctors. It's a good thing because you can know your patients a little bit better. You don't have to, keep asking questions about things that you already know and have seen them for in the past.
There are a lot of people who are relatively well, healthy and well, working people, and they don't have a lot of need for a doctor. But once in a while, something will crop up, and maybe they don't have a doctor.
Yes,
they
ma'am.
need to find someone, and that would be like you, a
Yes,
family
ma'am.
practice physician.
I am happy to see anyone and everyone that would need to be seen, and all you have to do is call the Christus Clinic office, and they'll get you hooked up with an appointment.
I wanted to ask this. I don't know exactly how, but of course you have had your training, lots of training, and now in a practice. But do you feel that as a doctor, or as a doctor stays working and ages in their career, that goes beyond their training? They begin to see, I saw this before, and this is what happened, and then I compare that to another case.
Yeah, no, being a physician, you're really always learning, and that's something that they kind of preach whenever they interview for medical school. It's a constant learning. You need to be kind of thinking the entire time you work. It's not something that you can just stop, and that's partly because we are required to. I mean, we have to have training every year after we finish residency and keep up with the most recent literature, but that is hard to do sometimes when it's such a broad scope. And so it really is kind of something you have to have a passion for, is learning and keeping up with all the most up-to-date information.
I will add this in too, and we don't have too much time left, but the elderly. My mother, I took her to Dr. Miller. She was physically very well. She had little need for, but once in a while something would crop up. And his tenderness and care was just something we appreciated so much. And that's also a role, sort of like maybe reassurance by a doctor that, you're doing fine.
Yes, ma'am. No, I've only heard great things about Dr. Miller. I think it's an honor to really be in his hall and to see patients that he's seen in the past, and to kind of have that culture already in this area, and those expectations are high, and hopefully I can meet them.
Okay. We welcome you to Sulphur Springs, Hopkins County, in your practice at Christus as family practice doctor, and Dr. Blake Cross. And so I want to ask you briefly, how did you ever come to realize you wanted to be a doctor?
I actually wish it was a brief answer.
Okay.
That would be nice, but I actually found out about it in medical school. I met a woman whose daughter went to TCU. I was living in Fort Worth with my wife, and we were at a cooking class, and she just mentioned Sulphur Springs, and that kind of stuck in our minds, and it was always something we thought, maybe that's an option, and never really had been here before that. And eventually in residency, Christus was looking for physicians in the area, and I had always kind of mentioned it during that time, and so my wife and I came here and fell in love with the community and really enjoyed the area, so that's what ended up bringing us to Sulphur Springs.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cross. And Brad Bergen, again, we have a wonderful array of
we really do.
Physicians here.
We really do. Dr. Cross is just another addition to the hometown feel you were describing earlier of Dr. Miller that's already out there. Dr. Balcom, Dr. Cutrell, Megan Bray, Dr. Goldie, I could go on and on. But these are people that live in this community. They don't get done at 5 o'clock and go some other town and live. They live here. You see them in Walmart. You see them on the square, 4th of July, fireworks show. These are people who walk around, and these are people who you want to see. These are ones that you want to take care of. And Dr. Cross is going to be another one of those.
Thank you for bringing him to us.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming in this morning.
Of course. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you. We'll see you at Christus.
In sports, the Lady Cats volleyball team won both of their pool games Thursday at the Hardman-Watson varsity volleyball tournament in Wills Point. Lady Cats downed Emory Rains 2-1, with the score being 25-17, 27-29, and 25-20. And the Lady Cats defeated Tatum 2-0, with the score being 25-9 and 25-18. The Lady Cats coach, Bailey Dorner, said the Lady Cats looked good in both wins. She said the Lady Cats did not let up and they fought to the end. With the wins, the Lady Cats stopped a two-match losing streak, which included a 3-1 loss at McKinney North Tuesday after the Lady Cats won the first set there. Coach Dorner said the Lady Cats learned from that loss and bounced back Thursday and looked good. The Lady Cats improved to 8-4 for the season. In the Wills Point tournament, the Lady Cats will be playing Texas High. That'll be Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Meanwhile, Wildcats team tennis is playing in a White House team tennis tournament. And Thursday, the Wildcats lost a close match to Bullard, 10-9, and then fell to Jacksonville, 16-3. Friday morning, the Wildcats played the Longview JV. The Wildcats and Lady Cats cross-country teams opened their season Saturday in an unusual fashion. Both teams will run in a tri-meet at Royce City against the host and Mount Pleasant. That means the expected top three teams in the district will be getting an early look at each other. Like in inter-squad meets to open the season in the past, cross-country coach Ross Hicks will use Saturday's run to determine which runners will be on the varsity and which ones will run on the JV team. Coach Hicks said his runners have been working hard all summer, and he said numbers in the program are at a high point in his 4 years as head coach. For the Lady Cats, Coach Hicks said he will have seniors Ashley Noe and also senior Sydney Washburn, as well as junior Maury Flecker and sophomore Jessica Yanez, all returning. New freshman runners include Lainey Hurst, Maddie Bridges, and Emily Soto. For the Wildcats, they'll be led by senior Christian Palomino, who just missed out going to state last year. Also, sophomore Jose Mejia. And Coach Hicks says he also has a talented new group of freshman boys. Coach Hicks' assistant cross-country coach is Brian Jones. That's Channel 18 TV News. I'm Don Julian. Thank you for joining me, and so long, everybody.